G'day guys and gal. With the recent release of the Majorkill mod for Total War Warhammer 2, the frustration and rage brought upon my state locking down again due to a potential second wave of Nurgle's gifts and my cat getting killed in a hit and run yesterday, I thought now would be the best time to express some deep seething anger and frustration via our angry overlord Khorne. Out of all the Chaos Gods, Khorne is by far the most straightforward. He doesn't trick ya into following him, nor does he hit you with any nasty surprises. He is unapologetically himself, and that's why we love him. As I mentioned before, the Majorkill mod created by Shaw Muscle is now live and available to download, and my god is it is good. Majorkill is a Chaos Lord of Khorne, and all the abilities and items he has are references based on inside jokes within our community. To download him, either be using the KAM mod manager and just click subscribe, or click subscribe and then drag the mod into the data folder. Once there, start up a Chaos campaign as whoever and replace that bitch ass vanilla lord with our boy. The irony of this is that I believe we can get the Majorkill mod to #1 most popular recent mods, meaning that every time CA checks the mod page, the embodiment of a blacklisted YouTuber from Total War will be staring right back at them. You can't get rid of me that easy, boyos. Today we'll go over who Khorne is and what his whole deal is about. We will then go into his lore for both Warhammer 40k and fantasy before discussing some of his demons and what would actually happen if you drank some of his rage-spiked Kool-Aid. Let's get into it. The Chaos Gods in 40k, whilst they represent the same thing, are different entities to the ones in Fantasy and Age of Sigmar. I've explained that in detail in this video, and I am sick of some of you dumb motherfuckers thinking they are the same. Khorne in 40k is more powerful than Khorne in Fantasy, as there is a lot more war going on in a galaxy than there is on one singular planet. Khorne is generally considered to be the most powerful of the Chaos Gods. No real surprise here, he is the god of war in a franchise called Warhammer, where everyone is in a constant state of war. His origins are a little sketchy, as the lore around them is as old as your grandma's powdery tit juice, but basically during the War of Heaven a lot of powerful people played with a lot of powerful toys, which turned the warp from a peaceful place of epicness into a den of misery and suckiness. Now just because the warp was in other realms of chaos for the most part doesn't mean the Chaos Gods had formed yet. They were like little zygotes at this point, more like forces of nature without names or sentience. Then during shitty times on Terra/Earth, each Chaos God was awoken. The Black Plague awoke Nurgle, the Crusades or Mongolian invasions awoke Khorne, and the invention of Monopoly awoke Titsnitch, making the Big E older than all the Chaos Gods. In fantasy, it's not really specified where Khorne came from. One day Chaos flooded the world and he was already up and ready to go. Now the Chaos Gods are not one-dimensional as they seem. Sure, Nurgle is the god of shitting out your mouth till you die, but he's also the god of nature. Titsnitch is the god of schemes and manipulation, but he also empowers memes. Khorne is no different. Sure, his followers are often mindless berserkers who stamp nails into their brains, but he is also the god of honor and courage. Followers of Khorne do not torture or trick people. They don't draw out a kill or stab you in the back. They hit you in the front and kill you as quick as possible. Why don't we see more of this noble side of the Chaos Gods then, I hear you ask? Well, that's because the setting would be really fucking boring if half the references to Nurgle were a bunch of hippies planting trees and protesting climate change. In saying that though, we do see a lot of Khorne's noble side come through. It's just a shame that it's overshadowed by chaos, evil, hui hui. Khan the Betrayer from Warhammer 40k was a perfect example of this. A legendary warrior who held a lot of respect for his comrades and was incredibly brave, which all went to shit once he truly pledged to Khorne and became an unlikable dick. Bad example. You know, there's something on my mind. Khorne is all about battle and war and fighting and stuff, but I'm pretty sure he's never actually had a real fight in his life, bar that one time he interrupted a fight between Slaanesh and Kane. To be fair, who the fuck would fight Khorne? If you look at him, you die. His own demons won't touch him, and the one that did, being Scarbrand in Warhammer Fantasy and 40k, could barely put a dent in his armor before he spanked him so hard his eyeballs flew out and his wings burnt out. Other demons have never breached his palace, and even if they did, he would just sneeze and kill them all. Even the other Chaos Gods would get clapped pretty hard, so for all his I am the god of war, battle and courage, the lazy bitch hasn't gotten up from his big ass throne of skulls for thousands of years in both settings. Titsnitch schemes and plans, Nurgle brews foul diseases, Slaanesh killed the Eldar gods, and Khorne sits there and jerks off with his spiky metal gloves. In all settings, Khorne despises Slaanesh. In Slaanesh he sees cowardice, someone who would rather attack the weak and vulnerable, relishing in their agony rather than a direct fight or battle. Because of his hatred of Slaanesh that began on the moment of her birth in 40k, Khorne interrupted a duel between the newly created Slaanesh and the elder god of war Kane, who despite sharing a similar name, philosophy and look, are completely different people. Khorne smacked Kane so hard that he exploded into 1,000 shards, and then he kicked Slaanesh in her many balls. He also likes Titsnitch because he's a fucking nerd. For all his obsession with rage and bloodshed, Special K isn't a fool. He's a legendary commander and an expert at warfare tactics that don't involve magic, flanking, or ranged weaponry. He's a man of one plan, and if that plan fails, then at least he gets to witness his warriors die in glorious combat. When shit needs to be done, it's Khorne that usually does it. When Lord Croak was one-shotting thousands of demons every second during the Great Catastrophe, it was Khorne who empowered his bloodthirsters and sent them to kill him. When the Incarnates proved powerful enough to beat Chaos permanently, it was Khorne who sent Kabanda, a greater demon powerful enough to kill the Incarnate of Fire and fight Nagash to a standstill. When Guilliman arrived on Terra, it was Khorne who nearly killed the Emperor and destroyed the Imperium. There is no plan B or contingency, either they die or we die. Either way, all active war and bloodshed empowers Khorne, so he doesn't really mind either way. Take Tuskar Demon Killer from 40k for example, arguably the best orc around. He discovered that demons were really fun to kill, so he launched an invasion in the Eye of Terror, destroying numerous demon worlds before landing on the Blood World, a world full of blood. There he once again did what he did best, however the lord of the planet was a potent demon prince, and despite Tuskar's best efforts, him and his Waaagh were killed. But not before he punched said demon prince in the nuts however. Khorne was so pleased by the act of autistic sentient mushrooms attacking one of his planets that he brought Tuskar and his Waaagh back to life in front of his brass fortress, and now watches in delight as they fight against his demons only to get slaughtered day after day. Ironic that an orc's heaven is on the doorsteps of hell. Now let's look at some of the demons Khorne has to offer. Khorne is the most Satan-like of all the Chaos Gods, so it makes sense that his demons are the most demon-like. Starting us off with the Bloodletters, who despite being the shit cunts of Khorne's demons, are serious menace to society. They look wicked and have the swords to match as they jump into battle in an orgy of violence. It was a Bloodletter who killed the Phoenix King Finubai in Warhammer Fantasy and kicked off the Elven End Times. The greatest of the Bloodletters is uninspiringly called Skulltaker, who is really good at decapitating bitches. He's only ever lost once, to Sigmar Heldenhammer in Warhammer Fantasy, which you can't really be too sad about. Pretty much everyone and their dog has lost to Sigmar Heldenhammer at some point. After the Letters of Blood, we have the Heralds of Khorne. The Heralds of Khorne are basically chosen bloodletters who are placed in an arena and they kill other chosen bloodletters, absorbing their essence and becoming empowered. Once they've killed enough of their brothers, they are reborn as Heralds of Khorne, and act as boss units within Khorne's armies. Skulltaker was also considered to be a Herald of Khorne and was present in both Fantasy and 40k. No satanic god will be complete without their version of Hellhounds, hence we have the Fleshhounds. They are literally hellhounds with copyrightable names, the most powerful being Karanak, who once again was literally just a copy-paste of Cerebus. Coming to the greater demons, now we have the Bloodthirsters. Imagine a demon from any setting, Warhammer or not. Chances are they look like a Bloodthirster. Demonic leathery wings, cloven hooves, horned, big hairy cocks, you name it. These beasts are as strong as anything out there, and they're considered to be the ultimate unnamed enemy someone can fight. The most powerful of them is either Skarbrand, before he tried to fight Khorne and got seriously raped, or Kabanda, the demon who nearly killed Sanguinius in 40k and was killed by Sigmar in Fantasy. Now where do demon princes like Angron fit into this? Well, a demon prince of Khorne is a mortal soul who was so pissed off and killed so many people that they ascended, whereas other demons are a shard of Khorne and are created directly by him. Genghis Khan is my favourite example of a demon prince of Khorne. The demon prince's power is extremely variable, as it depends on the power of the soul whoever ascended, as well as how much Khorne likes them. Take Angron for example. Angron should have been aborted as a child and was a useless Primarch. This carried over to his ascension where he continued to be completely useless, losing a fight to absolutely everyone including Perturabo, which is just embarrassing. By now I think most of you guys know my opinion on the World Eaters and Angron. I won't go into too much detail of them as I made an entire video on them, but I'm not super keen on how one-dimensional they are. A perfect embodiment of Khorne for me would be someone like Sanguinius, who Khorne actually wanted to have way more than Angron. Sanguinius was an honourable warrior that fought with his sword, but had moments of intense rage so terrifying it could get a Black Templar concerned. Angron and his sons are just like, kill, maim, burn, blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne, lines of ketamine. They are lacking that camaraderie and battle bonds that could add depth to them. This is why no one really likes them that much, and all the good stories of the World Eaters are from the ones who are loyalist, because they are the only ones that battle their brain nail induced rage with honour. I'm not saying I want Chaos to be the good guys, but it's getting to a point where the only interesting Chaos people are the ones that aren't even really that chaosy, like Fabius Bile, because the really chaosy ones are just replacing organs with speakers or writhing around in their own shit. Now what would happen if you pledged yourself to Khorne? Well, firstly, Khorne is more of an action speak louder than words kind of guy, so no amount of sacrifice or rituals will make him give a shit. To get his attention, you need to win a fight against bad odds without cheating, so no backup, sorcery or sneakiness. Once you have his attention, you must continue to defeat increasingly powerful enemies until he eventually bless you. His blessings drive you into a greater bloodlust for battle, as well as give you various protections from cheap shots. The most notable aspect of Khorne's blessing is an increase in magic protection. If his champions are going to die, it's going to be in glorious melee combat. If he really likes you, he'll give you a pet fleshhound and maybe some cool gear. If he really likes you, he'll straight up bring you back to life, which was the case with Tusker and Khorne when he got killed during the Siege of Terra in 40k. Overall, he gives the least amount and takes the least amount. The only negative side to pledging to Khorne is that if you seek his favour and then pull out some fireballs or start corner camping, then he will send his fleshhounds after you to devour your soul. Like I said, rip-off of hellhounds. And that does us for today, guys, the brief lore and story of Khorne across the franchise. I really like Khorne and his aesthetic. I only wish Games Workshop explored more sides to him, rather than just the usual berserker rage that we see all the time. Stories involving world eaters who hadn't yet succumbed to madness are really interesting. Fabius is mates with a few world eaters who have actually overcome the nails through mindfulness, and make for some enjoyable characters. Hit the subscribe button, then hit the real subscribe button for more subtly angry content. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.